Today we're looking at a different aspect of computer-aided design. We're going to be looking at designing three-dimensional components. Let's get started.
Okay, so if you're a student at Millay School, again, if you go to the Technologies page on Frog and look for the Resources tab, amongst all these other splendid resources, you will find Tinkercad, which, as it says here, is a 3D computer-aided design software. If you click on that, it will take you through to this link here. Of course, if you're not a Millay student, you can just type in the URL above and it should take you straight there. Okay, so we're going to join up, and I'm not going to, even if you're a Millay student, don't bother with signing up from school, just create your own personal account. If you want to sign in with either of those, you can. I'm going to sign in with an email, and here we go. So this is my home page. You can see here's a little Easter egg design that I made earlier today. Here's a button to create new designs. And we've also got some opportunities here for some lessons, some pre-prepared lessons. Now, when you sign up for the first time, it will take you straight into a tutorial that will introduce you to the basic functions. But I'm going to do that now anyway. So let's create a new design. And so if I just introduce you to what we're looking at here, we've got, here is our work plane. So this is the tabletop that we're designing our work on. Over here on the left, we've got a view button that gives me the option to pan around my work plane. I can also use some mouse functions. So on my mouse, I've got a wheel that I can use for zooming in and zooming out. If I click the wheel down, I can move the work plane in my view. If I right click and hold the button down, I can rotate the view, and you can see the cube rotating in the top left hand corner there as well. Okay, you always come up with crazy names, so I'm going to change this now before I go any further. Okay, so let's have a look now over on the right hand side. So as well as the work plane tool, we've got some tools here where we could drag and drop basic shapes into our workspace. We've also got some other options here, so we can put text and numbers in. We've got some pre-drawn characters, and there's some other pre-produced components down here. But the key thing you're going to be working with is this area here, basic shapes and text and numbers, and so on. Okay, so let's go back to basic shapes. Now, if you remember from the, those of you who did the homework on isometric sketching, we'll remember that what we did is we started with a box. Here we go, so I'll drag and drop that into place. So now what you can see is I've produced a cube in my workspace. I can edit the cube in various ways. I can change its position up and down. Obviously I want it to be on the work plane. I can move it, I can stretch it by picking up the black buttons. I can pick up a corner by picking up the white buttons. And I can also change its height by picking up this white button here, so you can see that I can extrude my shape to a variety of different heights. Each time I'm just using Ctrl-Z to undo what I've done. So there we have a solid cube in our workspace. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to cut a few holes in this, and I'm going to start off by cutting a square hole in it through this space here. So the next thing that I need to do is I need to create a new work plane for myself, because I want to work on this face of the cube. So I'm going to select work plane and drag it over here and snap it to that face of the cube like that. Okay, now I can take another shape, this time a box again, and I'm going to place it on that face there. I'm going to rotate so I can see what's going on. Look, I've got a slight misalignment, so let's just correct that. I've got it right now, looks right to me. but I'm actually going to reduce the size of this. I'm going to bring it down 2 millimeters on each side. Okay, there you go. So now you can see that it's slightly smaller than the original cube. And I also need to change its position because I want to use this to cut a hole out of my product. So I'm going to move it until it lines up like that. There you go. There it is. You can still see that it exists. And now I'm going to change it from a solid to a hole. So you can see that it's taken advantage of that. And there's one last thing that I need to do in order to make it a proper hole is I select all of the items and group them using this button here. Okay, so now as I scroll around, you can see that I've actually cut a hole through my workpiece. Okay, right, next one was a cylinder. And this one we're going to cut through this face here. So I'm going to select my work plane, drag it to that face. This time I'm going to go straight for the hole. I'm going to drag that over. Stick it on that face again. There you go. Change its size. So I'm going to bring this down by 1 millimeter. Sorry, 2 millimeters. This in by 2 millimeters. This in by 2 millimeters. And that in by 2 millimeters. Okay. And again, I'm going to change its position so that it lines up correctly with the cube. Then I'm going to select all my objects again, group them, and hey presto, we've now cut a circle through the cube. Okay, one last shape to do. This one is a triangle. Now I'm not going to pick the roof because I'm not sure what orientation that will give me. I'm not going to pick a wedge because I don't really know what that is, but I do know that a triangle is actually a form of polygon. So first thing I'm going to do is give myself a new works plane. Then I'm going to take my polygon, drag it over here, place it on that work plane, and I'm going to dial down the number of sides to 3. And if you I scroll, you can see that that now is pretty poorly lined up. So I'm going to try and drag the whole thing. It's obviously slightly too large as well. Still a bit big. Yeah, that's not bad. Let's roll around. Oh no, actually, it looks terrible now. That's a bit better. But again, as I scroll around, it looks awful. Try and get my triangle as even as I can. Again, it's not in the right place yet. So I'm going to move it down until it lines up with there, turn it into a hole, select everything, group it, and hey presto, got a cube. Now if I want to reset my work plane to the original one, just select the work plane again, click in any space away from the object, and here we go, there's a product. Okay, now what you can do next, obviously, you can carry on adding more detail to it and so on. You can export your file. Now, if you want to 3D print this, you'll need to export it as an STL file so that it can later be converted to run the 3D printer. If you want to share it with people, probably the easiest way to do is just to download a PNG file from here. That will save an image of it. If you want to share it with people in such a way that they can work on it, then you need to use this button here. Okay. Now, I'm quite happy to run a competition for Millet students who are interested in doing this. And basically, the way it works is if you send me a copy of the PNG file by email, I will judge all the entries, and the best several I will create on the 3D printer for you. How's that? Okay, there are some more advanced features that I'm going to show you as well. Scribble is quite a nice one. If I drag a scribble into my work plane, it should switch to a new view, and this is a space in which I can actually draw a shape. A bit annoying that that's right in the way at the bottom. So if I just draw and attempt to draw a fish, shark, okay, and you can see that now that has created my 3D shape out of my scribble. I can adjust the height, and I can adjust the size and so on, just like I can with other features. Also, within shape generators, there's some nice features. So for some reason it doesn't show you these as images, but here I've got a spring. Here I've got a bent piece of pipe, and various other, I've got fancy curved words and things like that. So that's just some more examples of the sorts of things you can produce. And for those of you who are feeling like you really want to stretch yourself, this is a useful menu as well. Connectors. Come on, select it. Yeah, because with these components I can actually start to make articulated products. So I can create ball and socket joints, a variety of different shapes and sizes that might help you to come up with some more exciting and challenging designs. I'm also, while I'm at it, going to create a new computer desk for Cubot, so he doesn't have to work at the workbench on his computer. And I just need to do a little bit of post-processing so that the 3D printer can actually produce the item. There it is.
Brilliant.
There's the desk. Now I don't need a raft because it's got a nice flat surface to sit on anyway, but I do need support materials, otherwise it's never going to manage to print the bottoms of these legs here. But that'll do. I've chosen the right kind of material and I'm going to prepare it. So just take a moment. There you can see it whizzing across the screen, and then it's going to ask me to save it to removable drive, which is a USB drive in the back of the computer, all ready to go. And now it's just off to the printer.
Stick the USB stick in here, and then the printer produces the product here. It's starting to take shape. Ooh, so close now. Okay, and just remove the support material. And hey presto, a new desk. Funnily enough, looks a bit like mine. Not just a new desk, but a funky new chair as well. And by the way, if there's any of you sitting there watching thinking, why aren't they printing bits of face visors for the NHS? The answer is, I tried one, and in 4 hours I managed to print 2 of the 3 components that are needed to make one mask. And the last word is a big shout out for Cutest Kittens LPS and her fantastic YouTube channel. We're very sorry that we missed the deadline for the Easter egg video. We got all squared-eyed and had to spend a couple of days away from the computer. But here's our entry, late or not. Bye for now.
Freude schöner Götterfunken, Tochter aus Elysium. Wir betreten Feuer trunken, himmlische dein Heiligtum. Deine Freude binden wieder, was die Mode streng geteilt. Alle Menschen werden Brüder, wo dein sanfter Flügel weilt.